To order this meeting of the Charter Township of Garfield Township Board, we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, Ann, could we have a roll call, please?
Schmuckel.
Here.
McCumber.
Here.
L. McManus.
Here.
Augustinelli.
Here.
Horn.
Here.
Lapp.
Here.
And J. McManus.
Here, thank you. Next item on our agenda is public comment. So this is the first, and tonight's agenda, this is first of two. So at this point, I will open up public comment. Anybody like to come forward and let us know what they'd like to say? Now is your first opportunity to do that. Seeing nobody running forward.
Could you point out that there's not a public discussion or hearing related to the workforce housing?
Yeah, there is
Let her-
not, yeah, the workforce housing consideration on our agenda tonight is not a public hearing. So if you did want to make comments about that, now would be your, an opportunity to do that. Still seeing no one coming forward, I'll go ahead and close that public comment and move on to the review and approval of the agenda. And if anybody has any conflicts of interest, now would be a good time to state those.
I'll make a motion, we approve the agenda.
Support.
Motion made and supported to approve the agenda as presented. Any further discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Consent calendar.
Purpose of the consent calendar is to expedite business by grouping non-controversial items together to be dealt with in one board motion without discussion. Any member of the board, staff, or the public may ask that any item on the consent calendar be removed therefrom and placed elsewhere on the agenda for full discussion. Such requests will be automatically respected. If any item is not removed from the consent calendar, the action noted in parentheses on the agenda is approved by a single board action adopting the consent calendar. This evening you have minutes, July 14th, 2026 Township Board Study Session Meeting, and July 14th, 2026 Township Board Regular Meeting. Recommend approval. Bills from the General Fund, $91,192.89. Recommend approval.
Thank you. Is there any item anybody on the board would like to have removed and placed elsewhere?
Minutes.
Okay, which ones?
The minutes of the July 14th meeting.
Okay.
I think Chuck was here. Corn, he made a motion, review and approval of the agenda, and he's not listed as present.
I was there.
I think he was there.
Okay.
So he just needs to add his name to, we did roll call with board members, and he's not in that list of people who were attending
Okay.
the board meeting.
Let's go ahead and remove it and then approve the consent calendar, and we'll do it at the next. I don't know if we can change it under the consent calendar. I'm not sure.
That's right.
Yeah, so let's remove it and put it under the, so July 14th, regular. Okay.
July 14th,
Anything anybody else would
study
like?
session minutes.
Oh, study session?
Yeah.
Study session, okay.
Okay.
Got it. Okay. Anything anybody else like to have removed? Anything anybody in the, any staff would like to have removed and placed elsewhere? Any in the public want to have anything removed? All right. Hearing none, a motion will be in order to approve the consent calendar minus the study session minutes.
I'll make that motion.
I support.
Motion made and supported to approve the consent calendar having the July 14th study session minutes removed. Any further discussion on that motion? Hearing none, Ann, could we have a roll on that, please?
Horn.
Yes.
Schmuckel.
Yes.
Augustinelli.
Yes.
L. McManus.
Yes.
Lapp.
Yes.
McCumber.
Yes.
And J. McManus.
Yes. Okay, now the July 14th study session, Molly, we just have to add Chuck as being in
Present.
attendance? Okay.
Yes.
So let the record show that the July 14th study session minutes be amended to add Chuck as being present. Can't make a motion if you weren't there, all right? Okay,
It'd be hard.
Yeah,
so,
this didn't work.
All right.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as amended.
Support.
Motion made and supported to approve the
At the same time.
July 14th study session meeting minutes as amended. Any further discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Thank you, Molly, for catching that. Correspondence. Chris, I don't know if you want to touch on any of these or just in for our information.
So the Traverse Connect letter was provided by them for you to consider when you review the Route 45 pilot application agenda item. And then the Road Commission is their typical weekly update, just for information.
All right, thank you. Always a lot going on with the Road Commission.
No kidding.
And more to come. So, all right, well, we'll go ahead and move on to reports. First is our Grand Traverse County Commissioner report. Neither commissioner was able to make it tonight. Fern did send an email, and it's on your work.
3 commissioners.
There's 3 of them? Okay, well, none of them are here, so.
Who's the third?
Well, she never shows up.
Who is it?
Never have show up. I forget who it is.
Garfield Township?
Yeah, we have 3.
Who are they? One with
No, the mean one.
Lauren File, Fern Spence.
There's a third one for
TJ?
precinct 2.
Not Andrews. She's a city.
Well,
City
Yeah.
and Peninsula.
It'd be interesting. I'd like to know who our third one is.
you can tell they haven't been here very often. We don't even know who it is.
Never been
So,
here.
Never see them.
regardless, you have a report from, a letter from Fern in writing on your workstation this evening. The next one is MMR report. Jeff?
Good evening, everyone. As in your reports, it shows that last month we had 397 calls to service in the township here. 285 resulted in transports. Not too bad of a month for how busy it was, and this month as well. Well, anxious to kind of see the numbers for this month. Grand Traverse units out of Munson Hospital last month resulted in 153 transfers. An additional 20 of those went to other Munson or was summoned to other Munson facilities, so like Cadillac up back to Traverse City. Interesting, I had a meeting with the Director of Behavioral Health at Munson a couple weeks ago, and due to a patient that had to wait in the hospital for almost 40 hours to get moved out because of the call volume. It was a mental health patient, so obviously that they were safe and didn't need a higher level of care. But we went over some different things that occurred that caused those delays in the system, and it was a very, very busy weekend. Come to find out, I learned some information on how they staff their area or their beds. They have 17 mental health beds, so when they have low staffing numbers, those beds decrease depending on their staffing. So sometimes those influxes and those long distance transfers that we occur may be due to their staffing issues too, because they're under some of the same scrutiny that all of us seem to be under. So that does have an effect on it. So we had a really good conversation, learned about their system, they learned about our system, and then as we're moving forward to try to collaborate with some different ideas and thoughts to make it better for us all, to eliminate some of that. So we're making small steps. As anything in the healthcare field, it takes a long time to get someplace. Our staffing is down a little bit. We did hire, had 3 new people started last Monday. We got 4 coming next week. We also have 1 new paramedic coming back, a rehire, so that's going to help with the system. On our end, we were, on a good note too, we were able to give our staff a raise at the beginning of this pay period, on an average 3 to 6%, so that is going to help. We're also looking at some new ways to try to get paramedics into this area. My description is easy to when I state it to my uppers. What we need to do is we're backed up against 2 giant bodies of water, so there's no population there to pull from, surrounded by fire departments, so the cost of living in the middle of the nucleus that far exceeds what a paramedic can come up here to start working at. There are paramedics that are very interested in come up here and work in because a great area that we have, but for a 24 or 25-year-old to come up here and get a start, I think is very difficult. So we're looking at some things to try to bring that up here and get some more paramedics from outside the area. We also spent a very large amount of money, and we just upgraded our entire LifePack monitor systems. So it's to the new Stryker LifePack 35. We actually had our first training started this morning. The second one is going on right now, and we should have those all up to date and everybody through the 4-hour training course by next week. So the technology, just like anything else, is newer and greater. Bluetooth, no cords going everywhere, but it can detect a MI or a heart attack far better than what the old monitors can, even when we're transporting. So if there's anything that changes in that patient's status, it'll signal the paramedic right away, the monitor alarms and all that. So anything that's hidden in the patient care or be a lot easier to detect. So, but it was very costly, but the paramedics are super, super excited to get started on that. It was a busy month. We had a good Cherry Festival. We don't have the exact numbers due to central dispatch numbers are going down last week, but we believe it was well over 60 calls that we responded to during the Cherry Festival. So our new UTV paid for itself then, not by as far as like financial gains, but it worked well, I guess, for the deployment of it. We also had 2 bike teams down there. One was on in the evening from 5 o'clock to the end of the night, and the other one on the high concert nights. We added a second one. So all in all, it was a good, successful Cherry Festival. The crews loved to get out and do something a little bit different other than running lights and sirens through town. So other than that, that's it for me, unless you have anything or questions for me.
Questions for Joe?
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Joe. All right, Chris, Township Manager's Report.
All right, I met with the director of the Grand Traverse Land Conservancy a week or so ago, and their staff had a tour of the facility. Just wanted to connect with them for networking, so we could put names with faces, determine what their priorities are, what ours are at the township, and how they align, and we could work together. Former Supervisor Korn, when you were supervisor of the township, worked very great with them and worked on a lot of projects, and I kind of want to continue that. So also got a tour of their invasive plant species goats. Got to see them in action, and they had a little pen that they were all, they all were all laying down when I got there, so they must have been tired and full, so they kind of staring at me. But they got this little pen, and they all stay within it, and they eat. And then I learned that they eat it down to like the roots, and then they treat it with chemicals. But it takes care of a lot of the problem and reduces the cost on chemical treatment. So working on how we can, I don't know that they're out for loan, but figure out a way that we can look into what you requested a while back. So I thought that was a good meeting with them, and I learned a lot.
I'm not requesting them.
What's that?
I'm not, it was just information.
Yep, yeah, but I'd like to look at alternatives, and if they make sense, then bring them to the board. I joined Michigan Municipal Executives a while back, and I attended their conference at Boyne Mountain 2 weeks ago, and it was a 2-day conference and learned a lot about data centers and learned a lot about housing, and then they had some general sessions regarding leadership and whatnot. So a lot of stuff that I'd learned about those 2 topics I already knew just from dealing with them, and I found some useful stuff for us to use here at the township as well. We had a meeting at the Planning Commission a few weeks back where this room was packed. Kind of raised a concern on the safety of the board and the people who are here. Because, the building says 312 occupants. It doesn't mean that they can be here safely. So working with the fire department to reassess that and talking with them initially, that number possibly doesn't include how our room's set up. That would be shoulder to shoulder without any chairs. So we're going to talk through, how the room would be typically set up, and that could potentially change, and then come up with some strategies for the future should we have a large crowd. Initial conversations to leave an exit point here from the podium. The stairway should not be packed with people. So we're hoping to come up with a protocol and a plan for the future. So, if an emergency happens, people can get out of the building. So that is forthcoming. I think we're meeting on August 5th. So that'll be a work in progress. Also working with Eagle, and I want your input if I should not continue discussing with them a grant opportunity regarding connections of community water supply systems to our public system. Right now, I don't know the details. I was just in contact with them about the possibility of using grant funds to improve these connectivities, which would help contamination issues and systems that are just really old and outdated and problematic. So I'm going to discuss with them on the opportunities and bring it back to this board. And So it would be a grant opportunity to pay for the connectivity of improving community systems that are not on the public system to help them with potential contamination, outdated systems. And this would be commercial locations where the public would benefit from it.
Like trailer parks?
No, no.
Okay.
Has
Nope.
a commercial water system.
Actually, I brought up in conversation with their drinking water department, I had mentioned like trailer parks, and they're like, well, we would prefer it to be a whole community benefit. That's a private development. So commercial businesses where people go and conduct business, everybody can benefit from that. So that's what I was told. But really, it's, does this board not want me to further have conversation with them to figure out locations? We'd have to work with our engineer on what those costs would look like. We'd have to enter into a grant agreement and then move forward with upgrades. The township would be required to pay for it up front, but then get reimbursed. And there is not a match. This would be, they would give you a certain amount. So it kind of seemed too good to be true, but.
How many of these are there out there at commercial?
So he said roughly 3.
Munson?
No,
No?
I'm still waiting for the details of the locations, but he said it's a commercial-related businesses, and these are the issues that, they'd like to resolve, and we'd like to give you some money to help you resolve them, if you're willing.
Interesting.
I think what did our engineers say, that never happens?
That's very rare,
Their
yeah.
Eagle calls you up and offers you grant money to
which
provide safe drinking waters to areas. So I understood it. I think with his comments that they were in areas where municipal water is available. They're just still on old well systems, and maybe they found some contamination or whatever. So they're.
He didn't give you any names, though.
No, I didn't. No details yet. I think it's forthcoming. I think they're looking at sending us a list
Okay.
of who they might be.
Yeah.
But they're in Garfield Township and they're in commercial areas. So
So there'd be no cost for Garfield other than upfront, we would get reimbursed?
Correct, yep. So what this would involve is like determining the locations, getting with our engineer to figure out, okay, where's our current infrastructure and what would it cost to connect for the locations, and then coming up with a total and seeing if that fits within the grant amount.
the idea would be it wouldn't cost us probably potentially anything.
Correct.
Yeah.
Is it water and sewer?
Water,
Just water?
just water. Yep, and the issues too is like the benefit fees that we typically charge, the grant wouldn't cover that. So, the township would have to, and I've never done this before, so I'd have to figure this out as we move forward, is maybe forego the benefit fee, and I don't know if you even can.
You can't do that.
Okay, well, then it would be up to these locations to see if they wanted to do this, and then they would have to then could pay the benefit fee, and then we could pay for the connection and the infrastructure with a grant. So it's not a guarantee thing, but it's a good opportunity that I feel like I should spend some time in checking it out.
Do you have an idea what it'll cost us to have our engineer identify the place and figure out what we're gonna do? Are we looking at, $10,000 to figure it out, or $200,000 to figure it out?
It's so preliminary, so I'm hoping to get the information fairly quick. He said that we would probably have to have a grant, or would have to have a grant agreement in place by the end of August. So my thought was, get the information from him, get with our engineer to figure out what that potential cost would be, and then, maybe the next meeting, have some information from you to say,
Sure.
go do it or don't do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that was kind of my thought process.
So does Eagle have specific locations in mind already?
They do, apparently.
They haven't told you what those are?
Correct. Yep, they're on so apparently they maintain a list of commercial businesses, and they monitor them, and there's this pot of money that they would like to give out to communities to improve these, and he said, would Garfield be interested? And I said, well, let me check. It's not my call, but it just seems too good to be true. And so I'm just waiting for the details, and then the plan was to work with our engineer and kind of see where it goes from there.
Yeah, start out by finding out where they are, and
Yep,
Yeah.
you'll probably get halfway there pretty cheaply, I would think.
yep.
Yeah, I mean, I told myself, I told Chris I didn't have any problem with pursuing. It doesn't look like it's going to cost us little or any money to
Right.
get involved in
Correct.
it. And if it's a service we can help provide, I think it's worth looking into.
Absolutely.
So, all right, I'll look into it and then bring something back at our next meeting. And then Red Drive, our engineer is doing an evaluation of the area, like a needs evaluation. Also setting up a meeting with Eagle to make sure that we're in compliance with all the rules that we need with wetlands and rivers and whatnot. But we were told today that the river is, it's not a river that's on a map where you have to get Eagle permitting to address the problem.
It's not
So
a designated stream.
It's not designated
It's
stream,
just
thank you.
It's basically a drainage ditch. It's not a designated stream, so basically we can
We can do what we want.
do what we
What do we
want.
want with it? Okay.
Yeah, so it could be just a culvert that gets put in the place of the current one to help solve the issues with the stormwater. So we're working on that, and also the supervisor met with the city manager about brownfield funds for Red Drive, because it is on that Commons master, or that evaluation as a priority 2 project to fix that area. So we're trying to better gauge their level of interest to see if we want to pursue that as a funding opportunity for that area. Not necessarily the dirt portion, but the pay portion where our trailhead is. So that, just kind of keeping you informed as we move forward. Also, last week we had, I can't remember the day, significant rainfall overnight, and that really damaged our trailhead. Just rutted it out, even worse than when the floods were here. So we, using our tractor, repaired it to the best that we could, but I brought this to the attention of our engineer and said, as you're building this trailhead, or this trail, you need to be mindful of what could happen, because I don't want everything that you put in get washed away. So we kind of put these issues on their radar and gave them pictures that were provided to me. So that's kind of another problem that we're trying to figure out and deal with. So that is all I have.
All right, thanks, Chris. Not to piggyback on one of Chris's, I don't usually, but the issue about this room and the capacity and so on, and a lot of feedback. We actually had applicants that were here that night to attend the meeting and couldn't even get up the stairs. Tried to get up the stairs and weren't allowed to get up the stairs from the crowd that was here. And when I talked to the fire marshal today, I met with him. If there had been a fire marshal or chief here, they would have shut the meeting down and emptied the building and postponed the meeting. They would not have allowed the meeting. You cannot have the stairway packed with people. You can't have the hallways packed with people. So separate from what we're going to discuss tonight, that was something that we should just recess the meeting. And then we have 36 hours to reconvene the meeting at any time within that 36 hours without posting it again, and we could have reconvened and finished the meeting. And that meets with the Open Meetings Act rules at any level, the town board, planning commission. So not to get hung up on that, but not only did he say that number is really high for this room, once you put chairs in it, the fact that the stairway was full of people in itself meeting should have been stopped and postponed.
I have a question on that. If you reconvene that meeting, can you limit the number of people that could be in here then? Or would it happen again?
You have to reconvene the meeting and see how many people show up, and because this is the only facility we have to hold meetings. It's obviously a rarity. We don't usually have that many people show up. So just more to come. It caused us to spend a lot of time studying the Open Meetings Act and what we can do, what we should do, and that's part of what we're going to talk about later too. So just more to come on that. But it was a situation where basically they said if they'd have been there, they would have forced us to stop the meeting and empty the building because it was not safe. So just an FYI. So if you on that, thanks, Chris. Appreciate it. A few things. Chris and I attended the Cherryland Electric groundbreaking yesterday out at Rennie School Road. I had my first experience with a hard hat and a shovel and a picture. I've never done that before, so that was exciting. So didn't have the right red shirt on for Cherryland, but it was a lot of fun. The Cass Road repair, we've talked about this in nauseam, and if you remember a couple weeks ago, we talked about our Plan A and Plan B. Just good news is our Plan A repair worked. If you probably noticed, that intersection is back open in full, and our repair is holding, and so as soon as we can get it coordinated, we're going to go in and pipe burst that section as a permanent repair, and then the last piece of clay sewer in the township that exists going north, we're going to slip line that, and hopefully never have to dig into that intersection again, I hope. So,
That intersection will be closed again in the future?
no, not from us. That repair we can do can be done through the manholes and not cause
okay.
any interruption to traffic.
Great.
So that's our goal, and that's what we hope happens. So, but the repair did work, and we were able to get it. It had to be done on an emergency basis, but we got it done. Had a nice meeting today with Blair Township, Olson's Development, and the engineers to look at the sewer capacity needs for Blair, for the Olson project, and coordinating some joint efforts there on pump stations and in future demand for sewer. So a lot of good conversation there, and we're more to come on that. We did have last night here, we had the steering committee for the South Airport corridor assessment. Had its first meeting where we invited our advisory group, and had about 40 people here last night to do that, and that was a pretty well attended meeting and a lot of good conversation. And then last week I attended a Par Plan board of directors meeting up in Boyne for a couple of days, and I forwarded it to John and Chris. Par Plan actually provides some real good support data and support outlets, so to speak, for learning about and dealing with data center going forward. So the Par Plan, being our insurance company, provides that to people that are Par Plan customers, and they have a statewide support system in place to help people that are dealing with that as well. So you're seeing a lot of expansion in the resources, I guess is the word I'm looking for, to deal with that. So more to come on that, but it was good to see. And that's all I have. Yes.
On the airport road, on the radio on the way here, I heard East Bay Township's meeting with the Conservancy on extending, I think, their bike paths down Airport Road. So from Town Line back toward 3 Mile.
Okay.
So are we in on that discussion? Because we're kind of talking about going the other way, going
We
west.
haven't done, no. I mean, I know that they're working, because their trail is going to end up going out to the schools, the junior high and toward the Olson store out that way. That's where their trail's going to end up. I'm not sure where it starts and all that, but I've heard talk of that trail, but we haven't been part of that because it's not within our township, so I haven't been involved in it.
If there's, what I'm getting at is if there's funding from the Conservancy
Okay.
to do part of it, it might be nice to hook onto it. And
Okay. I'll follow up. Yeah, go ahead.
In my meeting, I learned that the Conservancy is helping fund the trail, I believe, from Traverse City High School on 3 Mile all the way up to the middle school. And it goes on Land Conservancy property that's going to benefit them. I also made them aware that we have a priority of making our community connected through trail systems, and any projects that we could partner on, we would be glad to consider. So if there's something that they want to come our way, I made it very well aware that we'd like to be part of a discussion. So they didn't bring any of that up at the meeting. It was just like 2 weeks ago.
Thanks. You follow up with that, though, and
Yeah.
find out if there's anything, and get with John on what our plans are and if they mesh up with that.
Yeah.
Any other questions for me? All right, thank you. Seeing none, we'll go ahead and move on to unfinished business. Item 7A, consideration of a workforce pilot policy. Workforce housing pilot policy. Chris?
Say that 3 times fast.
Yeah.
So out of our workforce housing ordinance process, we decided that we needed a policy to guide the board in decisions in the future. So the committee worked on a draft policy, which it was introduced a while back. so it should not be unfamiliar to you. It fits with our strategic plan, it aligns with that, and provides a scoring mechanism by which the committee will score applications. The plan is to score them early on in the process, at the very beginning of it, to see if it's a viable project that the township would want to partner with the applicant on. So this, a couple things I want to point out is our affordable housing policy talks about those consisting of 15% of our housing units in the township, which we have roughly like 9,000. So when we were creating this policy, we asked, what percentage of our total housing should be workforce? And we hear that it's all new. This is so new that there really isn't great guidance for us to, to use. I've seen 10%, I've seen 20%, I've seen you do a needs assessment, hire a company to do an analysis and tell you whether you need it. So there's these options. The committee chose 10, kind of going in line with what our affordable one has a percentage. And we have none existing. We have an application for one currently. I do expect others to come. We're working with another developer who says there's some interest on their property for, I think it was an 72 or 80 unit workforce housing project, and there could be others. I guess let me back up a little bit. The other one is, we do have one, it's an HTIF, it's not a pilot, and that's the Brixton, the Gauthier property that the board approved years ago. That was workforce, it has rent limits based on income. So I don't know if everybody recalls that. So that is a workforce project and would be considered as part of a percentage that we go off of. Also in front of you is, it was included in your packet, was the 2023 study done by Bowen National Research Company. And what they did in 2023, it's 500 pages, is analyze our region in the north, several other counties, and they looked at Grand Traverse County. And in the page I gave you, kind of it talks about the point that I'm going to make. I don't want you to have to look through the 500 pages, but the one in front of you has a couple charts that show rental housing gaps and also for sale housing gaps. And if you look at the top one, the rental housing, it's broken down into income ranges, and that kind of equates with area medium income and kind of our policy and our workforce housing ordinance. So at the top, if you go to 80% to 120, which is the workforce range, it shows that 288 units are needed over what I believe is a 5-year period. So the study is looking at what do you need between 22 to 27. So that's what it's calling for Grand Traverse County.
Whole county?
That's a study was for the county, wasn't specific to townships, so the whole county. So you, before I talked about how we could partner with the county for a more specific study that you could rely on when making this decision. And I'm still weighing through the cost of that and what that'll look like. So I'll bring that back to you for the future. If you want to go that route, you're welcome to. Now the county is doing their own study that's a little bit more broader that still might meet the needs of the committee and the board in the future. So sorting that out, that would be a tool that you could use. So the policy, as we talked about earlier, is just a guide. That can change from meeting to meeting if you want. As we go forward and we learn, hey, it would be better if we did things this way, we change the policy. It had to start somewhere. This is a huge learning curve for a lot of us. It's new. So we talked at the committee is that, we're going to build this as we go. There is no template for us to go off of. We're gonna build it and adapt as we move forward. So we do have a draft scoring sheet that we're still working on, which is included in your packet because I don't think you necessarily need to approve that in its form, but there's a sheet that will be scored according to the matrix. I think that's all I have to share about the policy right now, and just entertain any questions.
Yeah, Molly.
We can pretty easily determine the percentage of units that are in that 80 to 120 that we have, because we know how many households we have now, and we know how many units there are, and we can figure out that percentage.
Yes.
And is the strategy for us to set that percentage at, say, 10%? You were kind of talking.
Correct.
Set it at 10%, and then go forward from there. So we know that we need them, but that's one issue. The other one is, how many do we want?
Correct.
So, we know that we will always need housing, but where is the township drawing the line on how many are gonna be here? Grand Traverse County is always gonna need it, and they're not spread out. They're not in Peninsula Township. They're not in other townships, not many in the city, not many other things. So what I personally don't want as a resident of Garfield Township, to have them all here.
I agree.
I agree.
So how do we should be able to get those numbers, and the committee should be able to figure out, and then we gotta draw the line where we draw the line.
That's a great point you raise. We surveyed area townships. East Bay has a couple, workforce. Blair has one. The Peninsula has none. Acme, I believe, has none.
But we have 15 already.
Right. I mean, so this is a regional recommendation, which means that there's these other townships who could help shoulder the burden. And, the committee in discussion could say, we think we've done enough, and our recommendation is that you don't do any more, and that other communities help in their end. So that's certainly a direction that we could go. But I think the committee feels that we have to start somewhere.
Right.
Right. And I'm glad you're establishing a base.
Yep.
We're gonna shoot for 10%. I don't know, do you know what percentage we have right now?
So of the workforce, so we have 16 pilots that are affordable housing, and I believe it's met our 15%. I'll verify that for sure.
15 now, not 10.
Yeah, 15%. That policy talks about affordable housing be set at 15.
Okay.
We may decide that, we've got, 50% affordable, but we'd like this to be 5%. That may be in the future as we go forward. It's all adjustable as we learn more and determine what we want to do.
So you're saying you're going to adjust that percentage each?
The board could if they want, like if the committee convenes on future applications and, we learn more and we decide through information we gain, hey, we've done all that we need to in Garfield, that, the McKinney is going to recommend, let's adjust this back to 5. We've already, that's 20% of our housing units are pilots, whether workforce or affordable. And, as a township, we can decide that's good enough. But I think that's going to be figured out as we move forward and continue to get applications and learn more information, and the area develops and other communities,
Well, it's nice to have them. I mean, I think everybody would like to accommodate all of that, but we are looking at our tax-paying residents here who are getting half the taxes from those. So, and they're paying full, so
Right.
I just want to be aware of that balance.
I agree exactly. I think maybe as a committee, maybe we reconvene and look at, we've had a number of about 15 on the low-income pilots, and we kind of set a number of 10. Well, maybe we look at the combined, because I think we may already be over on the pilots, if we may already be beyond that 15. So maybe we say, it's 15 and 5 not to exceed 20%, and we draw that line, because at some point, I agree, we probably, to be good stewards of the township, need to at some point say no.
Right.
Until some other municipalities step up and get some of these in there too. But we, as a committee, felt this one was a good test. We don't have well, we aren't on the application right now. I guess I'm getting ahead of myself. But as we get to talking about this application, what the reason that we're recommending this one, but I think as part of the policy, as part of the, we do come with a recommendation, then this board set a limit. Say, we're not going to exceed whether it's 20 or 22 or 25, whatever that number is. And we draw a line in the sand and say, we're going to stop here. And there's nothing wrong with it. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that.
Right.
We're already over what we had set our policy at before, aren't we?
Of the low income.
Affordable.
But this is workforce. This is
We
our
are
first.
over.
This is our first workforce.
But they're all pilots, or
They're all pilots. I agree, but they're not. There is a difference between you're looking at what this is providing is, well, like Jeff mentioned earlier, you're trying to get that group of people that are working and can't afford housing, but they're working. They have jobs and they're out there earning income. They just can't afford. So maybe this, whatever it is, a couple $100 a month less in rent makes it more affordable for them to live here. So that's what workforce was designed to do versus the low income.
I understand, but it's
Yeah.
also another pilot for Garfield Township.
They are all pilots, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, you're right.
I understand, yeah.
I think that we've got a couple of workforce right now. The flats at Lafreniere and the project that's,
Did that go through as workforce? I thought it went through as
it's
4%.
primarily workforce. I think there's some 30% in
I
there.
think that went through at 4%, didn't it?
I'm sorry, I missed your question.
Didn't they go through at 4%, the flats?
That is at 4%, yep.
Yeah.
But there is like 30%, as he said, it's a mixture.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
But I think at the end of the day, it's balance, We don't want it to be all one thing, and I think we're heavily invested in the low-income tax credits
Right.
projects, probably more than we need to be. If someone wanted to convert a low-income tax credit to a workforce housing, we'd certainly be open, because that would help restore some balance.
Be nice to have a pilot for single-family homes to help people afford single-family homes, but that's not on the docket anywhere, so.
Yep, it's on the horizon maybe somewhere. No, I think it's doable.
I think we have to set a limit,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
and we've already exceeded our limit
On the
for
one.
pilots.
So we can schedule another meeting for the committee and get help, have Polly's help. Let's get the numbers for where we're at on both and come up with a combined number that says this is our limit and see where we're at compared to that.
Well, I think it's important for us to have a policy in writing, and where that ends up, the committee can study it and decide and come back with a recommendation on that. As far as the one we have on the table, I'm not sure we want to cut that off. I want to keep moving on that.
Oh, yeah, no.
But
Yeah.
it will be good for the township to have a number to look at. And, you always end up in a little litigation and other things like that. So if it's written down and this is our policy and this is the deal, and then that's it.
Okay. I like that.
I agree,
I agree.
we've already exceeded it.
Chloe?
comment. I would like to see also as part of the evaluation, a study supporting it, because I know there's one here for the whole county that shows 288. Say we pass the one today, that's over 400 units. So I feel like that fills the need according to this study. So if we're going to evaluate them, I think each time, I think that should have heavy weight, is if there's an actual study that shows there's a real need for it. So I don't know if there's some way to fit into the guidelines, whether we do a current study every couple years or we have them provide a study. I think that should be like point number one before you even evaluate them. Is there actually a need for it that can be proven? So I don't know. I'd like to see that added in. Does it say? I'm sorry. I don't know for sure. Does it say anywhere in there that there's a required survey that needs to be established?
It does not, but we discussed that at our committee, if we should require that. And that can be lengthy. So does the need to get the housing implemented quickly outweigh the time it takes to do that? Because you could certainly request that and then ask the applicant to put money in escrow to have, us do a study or request them to do a study.
I think you just need a current study that's updated, because this does go through 2027, but according to this, if we pass ours today, we've met the need for the whole county and then some.
Okay.
So then our next one, well, there's no need, right, according to this,
Right,
is what I'm trying to say, so
you're
why
right.
pass it if there's not an actual need for it?
So Garfield Township will again cover for the whole county, the whole need for the whole county. And then some.
And looking at this, the biggest need is in, for sale housing, something that someone can purchase in that. And if you just look at this chart, that's where it's low income for rental and for sale in that workforce category. And people with a good job in that category, I think, should be able to buy a home.
Yeah, but
I get
the
it.
cost of housing.
I get it, Molly.
That's, the township has not gone into the housing market and worked on putting money into, I guess some townships do that, we don't do that. But there's no land. So the cost of land for anybody who's gonna be below 300,000, which is where you need to be if you're, making 70, 80,000 a year, so.
It's a tough economics.
Very, very tough.
Anybody else?
A quick question.
Well, where we're at on the agenda is the policy. This policy doesn't contain the limit, and I don't know that the limit we would set needs to be part of the policy. This is more for the grading of, as the committee looks at each one that might come in, how we grade and determine if they qualify. I think if we could potentially add a limit to it if that's what the desire is of the board, but that's not what the policy was designed at this point for. So, whatever your pleasure is on that.
Well, the policy sets the 10% limit of housing units, so it would be, 10% of 9,000. So how many units? I'm not a mathematician, but, that would be the objective number, and then decide if that's needed. Another thing, too, as far as Chloe's point, I'm going to anticipate we're going to start seeing more applications. Floodgates will probably open up, so if you want to have some objective information, like a study done to make your decision, we should probably add it to the policy.
I think you could add it to the guidelines where it says we're going to limit to 10%, but also say there must be a proven need for the project. That's like in the guidelines before you even go into what you're going to rank them.
Yeah.
If everyone, there's just got to be somehow proven that it's an actual need, not just that we're limiting it to 10%, but you don't want to just approve them if there's not really a need.
Right.
As I thought through this, if you do 10%, it's a number. If you just say it based on a need, then you're going to have an organization who's going to tell you have the need.
Right.
And if you don't want to follow your policy because it says every time there's a need, I don't think that's good. I think have the percentage and verify with a study.
Yep.
Might be the wise way to do that. And you could either consider still approving the one we have in its form tonight, but I would suggest that next meeting I come back with you with an updated one to include that language about an assessment, if you choose.
If you're not comfortable with 10 right now, if we've kind of have an unwritten rule for the lower pilots at 15, and you think 20 is the number, maybe we change this to 5% tonight.
Or we just adopt 20 overall.
As part of this resolution? Or just separately?
As as a guideline, I think 20% overall would let you, do some,
And I know
what
we're
I,
not there.
what I feel is very much needed housing at this point in time, workforce housing. And also, it would leave the door open, because eventually some of these LIHTC or low-income projects are going to pass away.
Right.
And then we could add more workforce if there was a need at that point in time. But if we could shoot for an aspirational goal of 20% right now, as opposed to 15 and 10, it would give us some flexibility in the future, and it would be the housing that's needed at that time. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but you will always need low-income housing.
You'll always what?
You will always need low-income housing. You will always need low-income
Well,
housing.
we have a lot of that now. I mean, we already have, we're like, I think 17% was the last number I think I saw on that. Molly?
Okay, well.
It is. Yeah, I don't think the need for the county does not determine what we do.
Right.
There are so many other players who are not involved at all.
I know. Oh, I know.
So, as I said, I think a combined limit of 20, and if we want to move one of them up, the other one down over time, that's good.
Molly, you have a
Well,
comment?
that's just same point. The need is one thing. The need is region-wide. We're just Garfield Township, so the need is a good number to know, so we don't go way over that. But a lot of the people that are going to be living in Garfield Township are going to be working at Munson Hospital or working, some other place, and so it's a good number to have, but it's two different things. The need's going to be a regional. If you do a need on how many medium income houses you're going to need in Garfield Township, you're not going to have a good number to assess what's needed in the area. And so.
Yeah, I'm not sure how we can come up with a percentage unless we know Garfield Township specific.
Well, it would be a percentage of all the housing that we have. It would not be a percentage of need.
We have the
Fair
housing.
enough, but how do we,
We look at how many houses there are in Garfield Township and how many there are.
I get it, but our target should be a reflection of what the need is?
No.
For the whole
Or
area?
you're saying our target should be a reflection of what we think our citizens would be accepting of,
Yes,
not necessarily what the need is.
right.
Right.
Because we're not
Fair
covering
enough.
the need for all the counties or all
Well,
the
right.
Oh,
towns.
we already are.
Yeah, we already are.
Right
And
now, we
several
are.
of the
Yeah, we are.
Yeah, we already are.
It's good information to have, but that's not what our percentage should be based on.
No.
It's what we have, what we already have, and what's in each of those categories. That would be my thought.
Thinking it through.
Is it as simple as changing the wording in this particular policy to state, instead of, in an area where 10% of the current housing stock within a half-mile radius of government subsidized, you just change that to say 20 cumulative of all pilots, or do you want them to
Split out.
postpone this and redeal with the policy? I don't think it's going to affect our looking at the next thing on our agenda. Even if we don't adopt the policy, I don't think it's going to limit us from acting on the next item. This is just going to be what sets the policy.
Right.
What would you rather see? Let's rewrite this policy, bring it back, or do you want to make a change to it tonight?
I'd be comfortable with bringing it back.
Looking at it again.
Okay. I mean, I don't think it affects us acting on the next application.
Do we need to have a policy in place before we act on the next one?
No, the policy was just something we wanted to put together to help us make decisions
In the future.
going forward. The policy is not required for us to approve the pilot, the workforce pilot.
I
We
like
want a
it.
policy in place, and we're going to have it, but it's not required to act on it.
I think we should bring it back with the language that 20% period.
And I'm comfortable with that.
For now, we can always change if we feel like we want to do that. But for setting this up, we've got to have a target.
We have to have a number.
Right.
Good point.
That would require us to update our affordable housing policy too, which represents 15%. So we tweak that one as well at the same time. So
Good
we
idea.
can bring them both back.
Or set it at 15 for now.
Bring them both back and have the same language where they
Right.
overlap, that the
Correct.
combined percentage of both can't exceed, if 20% is the number, 20%. I think that's a safe way to do it.
Because right now, you're looking at 25%. with
If we
15.
approved this tonight, it would have been, is our policy state 15 on the other one? Is it actually
It does.
state 15? Okay. So yeah, we would have been at 25 if we approved this as written.
And we're already at 17.
So we'll be, yeah.
Mhm.
And if you could also add the language of proving the low-income or workforce, a need for the project with a survey, somehow, a current survey.
How do you define the need for Garfield? When anybody from any of the surrounding townships can move here? And I'm sure that many of the people who live here now moved here from other counties. It's not, there is no specific need to Garfield.
It's just in the
That's why
area.
we would do a study specifically for Garfield.
But anybody can, once the housing's available, the people in the region are going to move here. That's what Chuck's saying. So we have to set a
People from
limit at
Kalkaska will
20%.
move here. People from Benzie
Period.
will move here. People from Antrim will move here. Nobody from Leelanau is going to move here.
So at this point, I think I need a motion to postpone item 7A until our August 11th meeting. We'll bring this and the other pilot with revised language back to the boards, what I think we should.
I make a motion that we table the policy for evaluation of workhouse housing pilot applications and bring it back to the August 11th, did you say?
The policy, well, that's the next meeting is August 11th.
August 11th
We have it
meeting.
ready by then, Chris?
Yes.
I'll second that motion.
I'd have a comment.
Motion made, supported to postpone the
This is a-
consideration of the workforce housing policy and bring it back on August 11th. Any further discussion on that motion? Yes, Chris?
To Chloe's point about the needs assessment, we can do some committee discussion on that internally and make a recommendation on what that looks like.
No, not next week because it's election day, but maybe another day
Yeah.
between now and the 11th, we have a policy committee
Do it on the 5th.
meeting. Okay. All right. Motion made and supported. Any further discussion on that? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item 7B, consideration of pilot application for Ridge 45, Resolution 2026-21-T. On page, there's a revised version of that on your desk. Chris?
Yeah, a lot of information on this agenda item in your packet. Just a cover letter, just reiterating the project scope, the intent. The Community Development Committee met and reviewed the application. Members of the committee used our scoring matrix as outlined in the draft policy and determined that the, let's see. Bear with me here. That the project scored at a rating between acceptable and excellent as far as the scoring went, using our draft policy. The committee met a lot. The committee weighed out a lot of things. You know, the committee went from, I don't know that we can support this initially, to, you know, meeting with the applicant face-to-face, getting more questions answered, to a point where the committee wants to recommend that the board approve it. The applicant, initially, when they submitted an application, has assumptions on millages and whatnot, and they put together numbers, that didn't always match up with what we internally thought they would be based on our assessor. So the numbers you see in the presentation differ slightly from this document spreadsheet that's on your desk. The one that was handed out for the meeting is a good reflection of the numbers regarding this project, as far as the MSA, the pilot payment amount. And just as a little bit of recap training, the MSA agreement or payment is based on the value of the property, and then the amount would be 5 mils of that value. And the pilot payment is based on the rents that the project collects during the course of a year. And in this particular project, as outlined in my letter and also in their documents, the applicant looks to target individuals making 80% of area median income or 100%, not target above. And they've kind of laid out the number of units that they hope to fit those income categories into. So another thing that the committee was concerned about, and we talked about this in our study session, is displacement of people who currently live there. So we talked with the applicant about updating language in the resolution that protects that concern. So also on your chair is a updated resolution with one extra sentence from the one that's in your packet. And basically, it says that anybody, upon approval, existing households may continue to lease and renew at their will. So those individuals who live there currently can live there for as long as they want. The only issue that creates is it doesn't help you achieve your workforce housing opportunities, because people making above 120 can still live there, but it helps us not displace people. Also, it's difficult for our assessor and treasurer to track that, and that will have to be done through an annual audit to figure out, because the units that are above the 120% would be charged ad valorem tax rate. So, so the pilot payment will be a moving target, because that will fluctuate with people coming and going, and depending on which income level they fit in, it's a little bit more complex than just having one project that has one income level, if that makes sense.
Is the applicant comfortable with preparing that report on a yearly basis?
They are, and apparently they've come up with some software that makes it relatively simple to come up with a report to provide it to us. So, yes.
So the people that are currently living there, they'll have the ability to renew their lease. Do we have any idea if their rent is gonna go
Yeah, that's a question I had.
up? Are we thinking, sure, you can renew the lease, but it's gonna cost you another $500 a month, or
Yeah.
how's that gonna benefit the people that are living there?
So the rents can only be set based on the workforce housing statute, and it's clear 80 to 120. If somebody's making above that, I don't believe, unless the applicant knows of a mechanism that requires them to keep it low. I believe that they can charge those individuals market rate. I think
120.
they could, or market rate, yeah,
Okay.
right.
But there might be somebody living there who makes way below that.
They may,
They're
and
paying at a certain rent. And if this 80 to 120 range moves that rent up, so they have to move up to that, whatever that is.
correct. And the applicant, in the documents that they provide us in discussion, they aim to have rents below what HUD is setting. So and I provided that document in our study session that talked about the rent limits. So they have reported that they hope to keep it lower than those numbers, but there's nothing that requires them to do that. Basically, they've got to meet the HUD standard.
But even at the HUD standards, the committee was comfortable with the reduction from the market rate
Over time, yes.
at this point in time.
Yeah, and I mean, my comfort came from, it's not about the rent difference this year.
Yes.
It's about the rent difference over time.
Right.
And to me, that's what makes this project. You all know that at first I thought, what the heck? Why would I give a tax decrease for simply charging what I think would be market rent anyway, right? The market should be what a good job working person makes. But if you really look at these numbers, and if you look at our community overall over time, it really does stabilize the rent that you're paying over the next 15 years. That to me is important. Now, if I thought we lived in a community where rent doesn't go up by 5, 10, 15% every year, I wouldn't think, I would just say, what would be the point? But we do live in an area where the rents continue to go up by quite a lot every year. A lot of young people I talk to complain about it every time. So what I do like about this, and this was some heavy reading, is that over a 15-year period, you are saving a few $100s every month. Well, that allows you to save up a down payment to own your own home. That's how I looked at it. And so not only is your rent kind of stabilized over 15 years, they're also investing in the property so you have a nicer place to live. Where if this organization doesn't buy that property, someone else will, it's for sale.
And it could be something, yeah.
Totally different.
Could be something totally different.
It came down to
Isn't
a
an
couple
easy
things.
topic for me to digest.
A couple of the things we talked about too were the fact that this one is existing. It's unique that it's existing.
Yeah.
But a couple things that does for us is it's a test. It's a good test because then we're going to see immediate results. It's not approving it now and having it built and completed 2 years from now. I think the Brixton project was approved 2 years ago and it's just breaking ground right now. So this is an opportunity to have some results right away. And it also doesn't build another additional apartment building in our community to test it on. We're not adding to the number of multifamily housing units in the township. We're just converting these to workforce. So those things were attractive as far as looking at a way to test this workforce pilot without adding more buildings and without displacing of existing residents was my number one concern from the start. Wouldn't support it if it didn't have that assurance in here. So those are a couple things I looked at. So sorry, Lori, I didn't know if you were done.
That's
or not, but-
okay. No, I mean, it's not an easy thing to digest.
A lot.
No doubt about it. And I don't think that a workforce housing pilot is the answer to our workforce housing needs in and of itself. I think it's like we talked about, the economics of trying to build and owning a home. That's a workforce housing pilot isn't the answer to that. It's a bigger issue, but this is one small piece.
Any other discussion, Chris?
I just wanted to point out that River Caddis has Ginny and Jessica representatives here if you have questions, and our assessor here is as well to answer questions, just if you haven't noticed. But I think at the end of the day, the committee is recommending approval, and then in the packet is draft resolution for the pilot and an MSA agreement.
May I make a motion to adopt Resolution 2026-21-T?
You may.
Thank you.
Support.
Motion made and supported to approve Resolution 2026-21-T regarding payment made in lieu of taxes. Any further discussion on the motion? Yes.
I have one question, and I'm reading over this, and I read over it 5 times. So at the proposal pilot rent, some of these rents are going to be going down?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Because like the
absolutely.
current rent on one is $15.58, and with the new proposal, it's $14.66? Okay,
Yeah.
thank you,
Absolutely. yeah.
thank you.
That's the, any other questions on that? Hearing none, Ann, can we have a roll call, please?
Certainly. Corn.
Yes.
Gustonelli.
Yes.
McCumber.
Yes.
Lapp.
Yes.
Al McManus.
Yes.
Schmuckel.
Yes,
And Jay McManus.
Yes, thank you. Okay, moving on. I'll handle this next one.
Do we have to
The,
do the service agreement? or
Yeah,
is
the
that
MSA agreement.
MSA
that-
agreement? The MSA agreement also, or is that?
Yeah, that has to be,
oh, separately, I apologize.
yep, just, authorization for the board, or the supervisor to enter an agreement with the
Okay,
sponsor.
Second part of that.
sorry about that. I went right on by that one.
right on by.
So you need the motion that the township supervisor is authorized to enter into a 5 mil, 15-year municipal services agreement
Yeah.
with New Ridge 45 LLC for the project known as Ridge 45.
Support.
Motion made and supported to authorize the supervisor to sign the MSA agreement. That's the important part for the township, by the way. So, any further discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Do I need a roll on that?
Probably.
Leanne, or just as a caution, let's have a roll on that, Ann.
Never hurts. Augustinelli.
Yes.
Schmuckel.
Yes,
McCumber.
Yes.
Corn.
Yes.
Al McManus.
Yes.
Lapp.
Yes.
Jay McManus.
Yes, thank you. Thanks for catching that. Yes, Chris.
So I just wanted to point out, for the affordable housing pilots, it requires a concurrent approval from the county board. This does not. So you've approved it, it's become a pilot. What the county can do, and I'm going to read this so I don't mess it up, the County Board of Commissioners may adopt a resolution requiring payment of an additional amount designed to preserve county operating tax revenue as a practical matter. So the county, I believe, is intending on doing that. So I will communicate with the community development coordinator that we've passed this. He'll then update his board, and his board will probably pass a resolution saying that anybody above their policy 100%, they pass that policy that, they are supportive of pilots, 120 and 80. They may require that we collect ad valorem tax for anybody 120 and above. So I kind of anticipate that happening. Just want to make you aware of that.
Okay.
But it doesn't change anything to do with our numbers, the resolution, the MSA. It directs our treasurer to collect that. So
Do we have software that knows how to do that?
All right. Thanks, Chris.
just throwing it out there, yep.
Okay, next item on the agenda, item 8, under new business A, consideration of a public comment participation policy. I'm not going to beat this to death, but based on recent meetings and recent public comment and things that happened, it caused us some concern that did we understand the Open Meetings Act well? Are we following the Open Meetings Act? Are the citizens following the Open Meetings Act and the rules? And what came out primarily was that the township, every township or a board that's operating under the Open Meetings Act should state and adopt a set of rules officially. I don't know that we've done that. I know we have rules on our agenda, that regulate public comment, but whether we've actually made a motion and adopted the rules, we probably have, but I think it's probably also a good idea that we, each time the board changes in membership, that we adopt those same rules so everybody's aware of them. These were a lot of thought put into these. There was nothing earth-shattering on here, nothing glaringly different. Primarily the same rules we're following now. It's just stating them. We've got it on one page. Our intention is to have these posted in the meeting rooms at the entrances. And actually, we're planning on having them printed on the back side of the agendas that we distribute. So if there's any questions about the, we didn't tonight, but the agendas, we have those available for people. And just a few highlights I wanted to point out. There's two primary things that we really weighed is, letting the public, giving the public, obviously, the opportunity to speak and give public comment. That's a primary function, but also the responsibility of the boards to take care of their responsibilities and their business at hand. That's just as important that we take care of the business that we have at hand. We need to make sure we give everybody the opportunity to speak and also get through our agendas and take care of our businesses. They're equally important. So the rules that we put together are very much, 3 minutes is very common. The fact that you can only speak public comment once, those are standard and allowable rules under the Open Meetings Act. And I watched an hour and 45 minutes of public comment at a recent Planning Commission meeting, and there's members of the public that were challenging our rules, verbally challenging our rules and, telling our board chair we couldn't enforce those rules. Those rules were not legal, so to speak, and I've read the Open Meetings Act cover to cover. I know what the law states, and our rules follow the Open Meetings Act. And so no real, it just states things like the fact that public comment is not a question and answer period. The public's opportunity to come up and speak. We give them their 3 minutes, and we're not going to banter and go back and forth with them. That's never been the intent of public comment. So it's really just restating the rules, clarifying them so everybody knows the rules and we're operating under the same rules. The only thing that we've added in the Opens Meeting Act, if there is what they term a breach, breach of the peace, okay, is how the Open Meeting Acts relates to. If someone is disrupting the meeting, purposely disrupting the meeting or failing to follow the rules, we can recess the meeting and have law enforcement remove them from the building if we choose to do that. And, obviously we don't come to that, but some people's intention would be just to disrupt the meeting, and it's important that we understand the chairs has the ability to do that. So we're just stating that. Again, we're not creating a bunch of new rules, we're just stating them so they're clear and concise. All the same rules for a public hearing exist. The same rules exist except for in a public hearing, you can only speak at public hearing specifically to that topic on the agenda. So, for example, if we have a public hearing about the moratorium coming up, and it's a change to the zoning ordinance, then if somebody can't get up and talk about windmills, or they can't talk about solar energy, or things called data centers, okay? They're not allowed to do that during that public hearing because that doesn't have anything to do with the topic at hand. The topic is a change to the zoning ordinance. At some point in the future, if we deal with a moratorium on a specific issue, they could comment on that. So it's very important to understand that and that's always been the case but we're just restating them. So it's important that this board, the Planning Commission, any board, is able to control a meeting, and follow the rules so everybody's treated with respect, everybody has the opportunity to talk, but it literally doesn't turn into a circus and we lose control of them. So that's what these were put together for. Yes?
I have a question on that, and this is just curiosity's sake. Let's just say that we have something coming up on the agenda that we know is going to have that many people here.
Mm-hmm.
Can we, at that point in time, request law enforcement to be here?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yep. It used to be pretty common, but yeah, we can have representatives from the Sheriff's Department on hand
Okay.
if we think if we anticipate problems.
Okay, thank you.
Any questions? I know I've kind of spilled a lot there, and I'm sure you had a chance to read it. Nothing real changes, but just, I think it was a really good refresher. There's a whole lot more in the Open Meetings Act and that's where I talked earlier. We didn't, this is just about public comment, but if we were to show up and we were over the limit, we could, recess a meeting for up to 36 hours and come back the next day or another time to try to finish the meeting. With, anything over 36 hours, you have to repost it. But if you reconvene a meeting within 36 hours, you don't have to repost it. You just reconvene the meeting and keep going. So things like that it's good reading. If you're really bored someday, you read the Open Meetings Act. But it's the rules we need to live by. So it was a good learning experience for me to read it. So we've been doing pretty good, though, by the way. We've been doing all right. So any other questions about that? So I would just ask, I think Chris has a suggested motion in your packet.
I would make a motion that the proposed public comment participation policy establishes township rules that govern public comment participation and that they be recorded.
I support that.
Motion made, supported to establish the public comment participation rules as stated. And this would apply to all boards for Garfield Township. So, any other questions or comments on it? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Speaking of that, how about some public comment? At this point, we'll open up public comment. Anybody has anything they'd like to say or talk to us about, come on forward and let us know. By the way, you have 3 minutes.
My name is Justin Reed. Of course, I'm not a Garfield Township resident. I'm a city resident, so. But I want to say something about the red drive. I did take a look at the maintenance of private roads. It's the excerpt of Act 139 of 1972. Annual program, duration of program, assessment period. The maintenance or improvement approved by the township board may be an annual maintenance or improvement program not to exceed 5 years. In scope, in the assessment district shall not be assessed for a period longer than 5 years unless a new district with a new assessment is created to continue the program. This is meaning if the property owners say, well, we want to become a special assessment district. The township has the power to go ahead and make a maintenance of that private road, and that is Red Drive. And also, since it's in the county can go ahead and have an agreement to where their maintenance of private road can be a contract with the board of the county road commissioners. So basically, any kind of improvements on that road would have to have some sort of mechanism, some sort of hearing to deal with that. And everything else that's not in the county, that is within Traverse City, specifically Cottage Drive is mostly in Traverse City. So they can go ahead and they can do the same thing with their city road that they don't own, but it's a private road. So it can go back to saying, you know what? Yeah, we're not gonna go ahead and make it into a public utility. We're not gonna go with what the 16-year master plan was, and that can be the same way with Garfield Township. So I can see where this can become very much a legal issue very fast. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Justin. Justin.
Good evening. My name's Samuel Gedman. I am recently appointed as the county clerk here in Grand Traverse County, and I thought, being that I am appointed to an elected position, it would be prudent to go around and introduce myself to the various boards and things here in the county. So I just wanted to take an opportunity to say to all of you and to anyone watching that I'm very grateful for my recent appointment, and I am very committed to maintaining a high level of service at the county clerk's office when it comes to vital records and elections and court records. And just invite anyone who has experience or need of our office or any suggestions for anything that we could do more efficiently or better, to please feel free to reach out or come by and speak with me, and I'd be happy to talk about any of those things. Very excited to sort of continue a high level of service. We have some new initiatives that we're planning at the clerk's office. We're now doing live scan fingerprinting by request, which has been something that's been in demand in the community for a while. And as soon as we get this next election in the books and canvassed, I'm going to be doing weddings again at the governmental center. So if anybody wants me to marry them or their loved ones, I'll be there for that. So certainly welcome the opportunity to do that. But and just to reiterate again, we're very committed to providing a high level of nonpartisan election service and serving our the township clerks who do such a great job to sort of helping facilitate their efforts. So very excited for it, and please do, if anything that you see in our office or that you'd like to see our office do, please let me know, and it's an open door. Thank you.
Any questions for Sam?
No, we can't public comment.
Thanks for coming out. Appreciate it.
Can't public comment. Can't public comment.
Yeah. Oh, that's true. Oh, made exception.
What's that?
Well, it was, he's in a, special. So.
The supervisor.
I broke my first rule. Yeah.
Supervisor may choose to speak.
Yeah, I can't, actually, supervisor can, you're right, so. Anybody else? All right, seeing none. Close public comment. Any other business to come before the board this evening?
We now have to have a motion to
I
adjourn,
do.
correct?
Yes,
In a
ma'am.
second. I make a motion, we adjourn.
Support.
Yes.
Motion made and supported to adjourn the meeting. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? There's never any opposition to adjourning the meeting.